Hello and happy Thursday, especially the Thursday before our very special Valentine's Day. I'm excited to have you all on and joining us for this webinar series. If you guys have any questions or any comments, please feel free to join in the chat or ask in the questions. I'd love to hear what you guys have, your ideas and your thoughts. We're going to be spicing it up today with unique fields. Specifically when it comes to tracking changes, deduplicating, there's so many ways that we can use our unique fields and save time in our data cleanup process. So why do we need unique fields? Like I said, we can minimize the amount of duplicate records. We can also make sure that only certain values will be there as well. So as we're deduplicating our data sets, this minimizes the post-data processing process. So how to get this implemented on your agents, you would go into your fields, click on the field that you would like to mark as unique, click continue. This would remove any duplicates automatically. But if you decide that's a field that you don't want to add, you can always cancel, or you can remove that at a later date. When you choose your unique fields, it's really important, and similar to, we kind of have the pun of dating, like how do we choose our unique fields? You want to make sure it's something that is unique. That's not going to change with each run. For example, the SKU item of a product, maybe you're looking for the address, the ISBN as well, but some fields to avoid to mark as unique would be the price, the quantity, maybe the description, because it's likely that those will change and they're not specific to the item that you're looking at. When you're marking your unique fields, you can mark more than one field as unique. If I marked both the URL as well as the SKU, then I'd have to make sure that both the URL and the SKU are unique fields. And if not, if they are found as unique and there's two results of those items, so I'd have two with the same URL, one of those results would be removed. Here's an example of one of the agents that we have. You can see we have marked two of the fields as unique. We need both the chocolate and the love to be unique in order for this data set to be complete for us. If I wanted to clear my unique fields, I have this option as well. If you're following along in your own web console, when you select a specific agent, from this drop-down you would choose fields as opposed to data. Here's some tips when you are marking your fields as unique. One is if unique fields are removed, your duplicates will reappear. So either make sure that you export that data, publish that data, or don't remove it if you don't want those duplicates to reappear. If you want to remove or set a specific field, you would check the box next to the field, clear unique fields or set unique fields right here. That just shows you in case you would like to remove those unique fields and bring those duplicates back. The other dating tip, going along with our theme for Valentine's Day, would be to, when you have agents in an agent group template, that needs to be added on the agent group level. For example, my screen does not want to come up. We'll try this one more time. For example, in my agent group, if I have 3 agents in there, instead of just going directly onto that one agent, I'm going to go to my agent, just like that drop-down, select fields, and then navigate from there. There's a good, better, and best when it comes to identifying your unique fields. The first is just marking your unique fields to begin with. The second is using your store item history. When you store your item history, this enables you to keep each run of your agent. By default, the data is refreshed each time the agent is ran. If you would like to enable this, go to your agent dashboard and select the harvesting settings. This will appear underneath behavior for you to check store item history. Keep in mind that if you do have your store item history on, this could use up more storage. So just be mindful of when you need to clear those collections as well. Once I enabled that store item history, I now have these options to show if there's an added item, if there's an unchanged item, as well as anything that's staying the same or was removed. I have one specific field marked as unique. So if any of the player names are repeating, then they will be removed. When you mark a field as unique, all of the other fields will be tracked for changes, looking for any change in the data. And if there is a change, then it will update with these icons and make the change and mark it on the sheet. I have this I next to this field, indicating that it's a watched field. So opposed to looking at every field and identifying if there's a change between each of them, I'm just identifying that I want to look for any change in this specific field, and I don't care if any of these other fields change. Our watch fields are so helpful, and we'll dive into those just here in a little minute. So as you enable your store item history mixed with unique fields, you're able to deduplicate and monitor the changes that are set to the data. When we enabled our watch fields, this will be done from the fields dropdown. I'll select my specific field that I would like to be unique, and then check the box, watch this field for changes. There's also this confidential box, which if there is a field that is only specific to you and your position that you don't need, or it's confidential for proprietary information, then you would just check that box and it would only be visible to you. When you instruct Mozenda to monitor the changes for that specific field, when you export it, it will also show these are the changes that were made. The price was modified in this way. Some of the times that this has been helpful for me is when I'm running projects where I'm looking to see if an item is going to go on sale, if flights are going to drop, I can mark these specific fields to be watched. I don't need all the fields to be watched, just those specific ones. This could be for an event time. We talked about sales price, flights, maybe it's a name or a doctor if you're scraping that type of information. We'll use an example with an event. If I'm looking for an event or seeing if the advertising has been removed from the site, then I may want to see if an item has been removed and remove that from my next data list and feed that into the next one. This dives into how we would scale a project using this information. It's great to use it on single agents where you are just executing one set of instructions. You just want to notice if the price changes or if the address changes. But if you are using that data set into other agents and you want to know if anything has been removed, that you have a list of that information. Or if anything is unchanged, that's moving on to the next step. Those are important things to keep in mind. So as you are scaling these projects, something that's available to all of our customers is the API. You can make specific API requests that will show a specific view if there's added items or removed items. So here at mozenda.com/API, once we harvest our data in our first agent, you can come over here to the view where we can see added items. And process this, whether it's a field that does not equal, that contains, or that has been added to your request. If you're not unfamiliar with API, that's okay. We're going to have another webinar series that's dedicated to just the API so that you guys can all feel comfortable using the API and making those requests. As I'm scaling this project, we're going to look at two specific agents. We have one that is going to be pulling in information, looking at a unique field and tracking the changes in specific fields. The next one, we are going to be using the API to harvest that information and put it into a part 3 agent. Once you have the data set that you would like, whether that's having the duplicates removed, you can export it or publish it, or you can have that feed into another agent. If you guys haven't used a 2-step agent, this is a great process to begin starting. We're going to walk through some examples before we end for our training session today. We're going to start with our builder. So I'm going to open up my agent as well. And there's a couple ways you can do this from your web console. First, let's walk through our agent groups, how we would add a unique field. So from my agent groups here, I'm going to use my plans. I would choose fields from this dropdown. Select the field specifically that I would like to set as unique or watch. If you are trying to select a field to add as a watch field, you'll notice it didn't update anything. In order for it to watch a field and track those changes, it needs to know which field is going to be the control or the constant. So I'm going to choose my plan type and set that as a unique field, meaning that I want to remove any duplicates, and that's going to be my control field. And as this refreshes, then I'll be able to choose maybe my price tier to watch this for changes. And then this will be saved so that I can watch this as a unique field. If I tried to apply that same change on my agent that was in the template, then I wouldn't be able to do it on the agent level. So let's go to our two that were listed before. So in our data set, I am going to enable the history. So I'm going to go to my harvesting settings, behavior, and select store item history. From here, I'm going to save this. This is where everything is going to update, where I can see if anything has been unchanged, if it's been removed, or if it's been added. You can add different filters as well. So if I wanted to see throughout my data set if anything has been added or removed, then I could see that there. When you first enable store item history, the information is all going to look as if it's unchanged because I haven't ran my agent again to get a new set of data. Let's look in our fields. We have these two fields marked as unique, and I'm going to mark this specific date as a watch field. You'll know that it's applied once you see that I that's attached. I'm also going to mark this one as watched. If I didn't add any watch field, anytime any of those fields changed, I would be updated. We're going to go back to our main settings where we can see our data. And we're going to switch this to run. Store item history is available for isn't available for all licenses. So if that's a feature that you aren't able to see on your side, then marking it as a unique field will track all of the changes between each field. As it's harvesting, if you're new to Mozenda, the harvesting results will need to be refreshed as you're harvesting so that you can see it populate here. It's going to get that data set, and I want to track to see if anything has been, I only want to see the unchanged items. So we're going to open up our next agent where we are making an API call. This is going to be using the data set from before and putting it into this part 2 agent for me to harvest. This data is in an XML appearance because of the API request, but it's going through and capturing all of the fields that were listed before and adding the field of status. So I can see if it has changed or unchanged. You can see this item status here where it says added. When I execute this to run, then it will pull that data set, marking any of the items that have been added and putting that into my part 3 agent. That data that I'm gathering is going to be stored in the collection. This is just an example of what that would look like. So if I wanted to feed in just this product URL, I would choose this in my agent as an input list to insert that there. One of the great things with deduplicating and identifying unique fields is it removes some of the heavy lifting for you as you are harvesting, whether that's the post data cleanup process or if it is building into another agent. It gives you more control over what the data looks like and how you would like it to look. Let's look at these. So now we can see these are all added items. We can see that these are unchanged items just by those marks there, and those are unchanged. Please chat in if you have any questions, and I hope that you guys all have a wonderful Valentine's Day weekend and are able to try out your unique fields or watch fields here in the next week. Thank you all for joining. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to chat in there if it's specific, and we can go through those as well. We had one question that we were able to talk about. They asked about how you would filter those in, and that would be through your collections there as well. Awesome. Thank you all. We'll talk to you on our next webinar here in the next 2 weeks, where we'll be discussing the top 3 support questions that are asked in. We'll be having a special guest of Alex Christensen, who will be covering the top questions they receive, what they do to solve them. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll talk to you here in a couple weeks.